Not that one with the charts.
That cases on it though.
And that had cases on it. So you couldn't use that one, but you could use the other one. I don't understand. You don't understand either? They do what?
Let's go on the road and walk.
I say to myself, what happened in here? What is this? Anyhow, don't feel bad. Most people, when they do the midterm, it's not good.
Just to show C's to everybody. We'll accept it.
Would it like that?
What?
She said just to show C's for everybody.
So what can happen when you just kind of...
We'll try to make it up then.
You sure you could do that then? Okay.
There's a head start.
If you wish. What happened again? Last week y'all said, hey, bring it here, ready? So I just sat there eagerly with my cup of tea. I said, all right, let's do this.
You know it's coming.
Huh?
You know exactly what's coming. Maybe you should keep it.
Keep it?
You just do one.
Use that as bonus. I don't think that bonus.
If anything,
no,
there.
I'm doing
So let's see who here. Santique?
What is that, 100?
This is the research paper. Oh, not taken.
Oh, so no one who got on that either?
Stevana? That's you, right?
The research is under 20.
That's what it's doing.
Oh, okay.
Deandra?
Yes. Say Senti.
Santique. That's you?
That's good. What this side?
Brandon?
Yeah.
You this one?
It's not like a this soda.
20.
You got 28.
Just kidding. I don't know we ate.
Rachel?
Come on,
Right,
now.
yeah, right.
Don't say that.
She's like, she put my laugh.
No, y'all did laugh.
No.
What one on your side? What's this writing on that?
Atia?
She writes a lot. I cut the show.
Janet? Griffin?
I wish you
I need to make sure this one. This is a 2 out of 1.
use this as a
I got
research
tried
paper.
to write it.
As the
Bruce?
I got tired of writing.
Get that right and then fall asleep. Read my break.
I fell asleep and
I have Rachel and Janet. What's yours?
in the blue folder I give it to her.
Yes, sir.
That's mine. I know this mine.
Let me see.
I'm telling you, I know that's mine.
Anthony.
Don't miss it, give that to nobody.
The research papers weren't bad. It's the next paper.
You should get points for just the folder.
I still writing it all. I was trying to find like
So 3 people not here. Say what? Now on these, I have not answered done the multiple choice, but I'll let you see.
You never know you should give me.
let's see.
No marks on it, no total, because I've been on number
So you need them back.
Charlene?
Say no total.
No, I haven't told you.
Hold on now, you don't peeking at your hustle in the front there though.
You don't know total. You just have X's.
Yeah, right?
That's a big X.
It's a big X.
I don't see
Question mark.
Rachel?
X.
Nobody here?
What these questions is all.
To you, Destiny.
It was a little too much.
Each question was what?
Each question was on 20.
Yeah.
Each question was 20?
Yes.
Idiot.
And the other thing, I was turning the attention to her.
Bruce?
Like she said, Marion. But she got 2 points though.
Yeah, that's
Sandy?
question mark. So I don't even know what this is. Question mark.
What? Griffin? Griffin? You know what I mean.
Question mark. Pronounced.
All I know what?
Chantillo?
I don't want you missing.
This was on 20.
No.
You
Auntie?
gotta do this. You gotta do this.
I need them back. Brendan?
Yeah, you can take it down, give me that one.
One was on the 20.
Still going on.
Yes, on the 22.
What?
Every question.
No, I know.
Janet isn't here.
Put it inside.
Stop right here.
Anybody
I'm
inside?
going to quickly conclude.
Hold on. You on the 20?
What happened on
Wait.
What?
Anthony, you don't know what he said.
What?
I telling you, I promising you.
What?
I promise you.
Huh?
What's the overall total for the cake?
That's it.
100.
I believe you.
100?
Why you feel like I need to have that?
How long would you research for all of it?
Get one on with the research. All right. So,
I know he's going to choose that. Y'all should have do good on that, the banking question. But the banking and customer. Something benefit.
This one don't have a mark. I can talk right now. I was supposed to go back and
everybody,
But that's a lot though.
I can get it.
Okay.
I can collect them back.
No problem.
Yeah.
You get 400.
Y'all finished?
No.
No.
Next week when you come here,
You doing this one?
you'll have another test.
To replace
say what?
this? To replace this?
No paper.
To
This
replace
replace
this?
this? What you mean no paper?
No.
So what this is?
To add to it.
To this?
You
Can you give us a heads up, please?
You can tell us like
What?
you can tell us
one
can you say
You need
exactly
two more hours.
what's
That
going
bad?
on?
I mean, I know it's that
Exactly what's
bad.
gonna be on the test.
That bad?
Yes, it's that
add to
bad.
it?
Yeah.
You say no papers, you mean like no assistants, no age, you mean?
Yeah, no,
But it's the same
it's the same thing. Yes.
cases.
But you already know.
You say two
I don't
questions?
know cases.
I don't know how many. When I add them up, I'll see.
So we can bring our cases.
No. You already know the cases.
You
You
know
know
what?
the cases.
You say next week?
But that's an add-on? No, that's an add-on.
It's an add-on.
Okay. Once it's an add-on, that's fine.
Ain't nothing fine with that.
Now you just say.
Because that means if it's add on,
But it
that
ain't
means
taken away.
it out of model.
No, I would hope not.
It's the same 20.
No.
It's the
Okay,
same 20.
when I looked at, let me go backwards. When I look at question 3,
That's it.
the principal of the school asks you to select an employee to talk about how the law of contract affects the operation of a bank account.
That was the easy
It
one.
has been agreed that you prepare a few notes on the legal nature of the contract between a bank and customer and the type of contract we can incorporate. Remember that you should answer, your answer should include case law.
I have no case law.
You can tell you what case.
Not a one.
At least yeah, the last set, I couldn't remember.
Oh, you say that's which question? Number?
We can bring the cases in. So
Two cases.
they can remember the cases the look.
From chapter 4.
It was 3 of them.
Oh, okay then, that's a lot. Okay, go to number 2. Number 2 was about what? It was about bailment.
What bail? bailment?
Yes,
Where's the question sheet? When you
I took them all.
Question mark.
It's about bailment.
Who's drinking wine with his mark?
No, I'm active today.
Today?
Yes.
you rush these?
No. Are you talking about bailment? You're not talking about bailment? No, you're talking about the duty of confidentiality.
I can take a picture of that question. So I can know, because if I carry this home, I still don't know. But
Yeah, but told me to bring questions next week. What is this? A bug. Let's go to question 1C. All right, all kind of foolishness. If someone is under the age of 18, what did I tell you? He's a minor. Can he enter into a contract? No, unless it's for
I thought about that.
necessaries. Or everybody run on with this, that, this,
Right,
that,
that's why they get 3
this,
points,
this,
so
that.
why?
read it, that's it.
Yeah.
See, that's a
That's
C.
it. Based on the fact that Simon 17, there are many instances.
That what they say.
First is agreement, but the fact that he can only lean on a legal guardian.
I don't put any legal guardian, he ain't leaning on nothing.
Yes, but
No,
they have the right
no,
to in
no,
what you
he's
say.
not leaning on no legal guardian.
He get
Yes.
1 point.
He's not leaning.
I get 1 point.
So why?
Why you help you?
Yes, legal guardian.
They all add up
I
together.
remember. Remember we did that in class? All right. Then go to B, where Fred made the following promises. Now some people got this right. Because
Would be it.
You
I
could
know
have
I got
selected
this
that
right.
question.
Oh, yeah. I
Would be spin out
This
for
is B,
years.
part of 1.
B has to do if he actually carries out the act, then it's done.
You just put an X on that.
You want to put an X?
No point on that.
Hold on, so if I put invitation and Miss Miss Archer,
Yeah, that's true.
So why I get 3 for this?
ENC just X.
He had to work.
So how much was this one? 20 points?
Can't
Yeah, but all this something there was one question.
But you get who 10 points, just 10. 1, 4, 6, 2, and 1.
I gotta get a point for that.
5, 6.
You put invitation and treat you. You put invitation
I
and treat
have to hold one either. I have a paper missing.
Oh, you will know how much you going in today. When you come, I get you just what you going in with. And then number 1 was a giveaway. We did number 1 for whole 2.5 weeks.
What number 1 question?
Yeah, what the word?
Christopher writes to Edgar offering to sell him his car for
Oh, so
$1,400.
invitation and 3 right?
He tells Edgar to let Samuel, who is Christopher's son and lives next door to Edgar, know his reply because Samuel will be seeing Christopher in 2 weeks' time. However, Edgar immediately writes back to Christopher accepting the offer. A month later, Edgar, who has heard nothing from Christopher, is out shopping when he hears from a friend that according to Christopher's wife, Christopher sold the car to Peter. Edgar immediately writes to Christopher saying, "You obviously did not get my earlier letter. I accept your offer." Christopher replies to Edgar confirming the sale to Peter.
There was no
I was there.
contract.
I was there.
Of course, there's no contract when you get there.
How much points that one?
I get there.
Huh?
We changed the mode of communication, right?
Was that right? So I get a full mark for that?
That's what I say, Miss Archer. Come here, please. So I know you rushed this paper.
All right, in the case, this is an invitation to treat according to Fisher versus Bev in 1951.
See, I was taking along with Fisher versus that, right?
Yeah, and what happened?
Now watch this.
I must watch this
That's
now.
the only point I get. That was an invitation to treat.
Okay, the change, this is a point, to change the mode of communication, that's what caused the contract to be null and void.
Yes.
Okay, that's 1 point.
Who says so? That's so next week, I will give you all 1 banking question and 1 contract question.
You can let us know.
Banking
after
meaning what?
this.
Let us know the rights and
You
duties?
can let us know the vicinity of the bank in question.
You mean like rights and duties?
We have chapters 1 to 4. Where's it coming from?
Only that, only that.
You mean like rights and duties, right? For the banking question, the rights and duties? of
That
the
same
bank.
chapter.
And the contract is like this.
Yeah. Contract is a
I
contract
feel like
question.
it's only fair that we bring out contracts and
You don't need it this time.
sorry. You won't need the laws?
You will need the contract.
Nope.
Follow the steps.
We need that paper.
No, you don't need the paper.
We don't need, you don't need the cases?
So, hold on.
She expects
I think-
She expects not to, guys. We need it, but she
Yeah,
expects us not to.
Yeah, we
No, we
need
need it.
that.
I feel like I'm being set up with that.
And they give you all half an hour.
Is that easy?
To do what? Because in half an hour, the only thing I can do is figure out whether that's a contract.
Right. No.
That's the only thing.
It don't take that long.
Some will know that.
So you taking these back?
Yeah, because I can do the
Don't
most.
forget that every time we did it in class, you walked us through it.
Exactly.
So when we were pondering, the only thing you said was yes, it was. And then we went from there.
Can I have my papers back now?
Sure.
I keep this one.
Yeah, you keep that.
Wow.
Can I have it now? I'm gonna mark the multiple choice.
Yeah, well. I can make this worse or better.
What?
Multiple choice.
The multiple choice is work. How much the points in that? Two pieces.
There's no more paper. You did one?
I'm doing the other thing. Like,
I don't know where it is.
You did a number 1?
I don't know. I hope
I don't think so.
it looked like it was here.
No, the back was the actual thing. No, you didn't do it.
I can do it now.
But you only 3 hours.
That's smart.
3 hours hurting my hand.
Whatever. So we good?
No.
What that means? Huh?
Feeling so confident.
Y'all yeah, last week you all say we had a grades, bring me the grades.
Yeah, because we know it was a stupid exam. And we just show
It was a what kind of exam?
that was one of them exams where you don't know what exam, one of those exams where you show every pass or fail. So we was like, in between.
Okay. So you're in between them all?
I sure you had one of them exams in your lifetime before, where you ain't sure if you pass or fail.
No,
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
no. Once you study, you know you pass. I don't need this. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Well, it's up to you. I would come prepared. You'd want to get higher.
Give us the total next
You
week,
don't know
let us
what's going to
pick it.
happen on the final.
Well, I didn't really
Why would you
study
want to
group.
do that?
That's gonna be devastating.
You only want to study on Saturday.
Yeah.
Give us the total next week and we can choose if we would take the additional testing.
Up to you, yeah.
Cases and stuff in the
But I'd say study, but if you don't want to take it, then that's up to you.
Hold on.
But like I say, you need that cushion for the final exam.
But I ain't gonna need the cases too, right?
So we ain't got nothing.
What?
We don't have
For the
nothing.
final?
No, for the test.
No.
I don't need to know them.
You already know them.
You still need them.
You know them already. What are the contract law cases we've been using?
Fisher versus Bell.
Fisher's versus Bell. Okay, what else?
Carlisle versus.
Uh-huh. What else? Adams and Lindsay. Come on now, you all know this.
Only two
No,
persons.
they know it.
Only two persons.
We ain't know it.
Ladberg versus.
Keep in
It
mind
in your
now.
notes.
Keep in mind, I take 2 classes. Which
And what have to do with the price of tea in China?
2 with case law.
Some people take 4.
With case law?
Yes. What other excuse you have?
Yes.
You can't skim this.
She's saying happy birthday.
Who? Whose birthday is it?
No, I think Anthony.
It's your birthday.
It was his
On the
birthday.
exam?
Oh, you should have gotten an A.
Really?
That should have been his birthday present from you.
Seriously?
Really?
Really?
He should have given me one. Okay, let's do customer due diligence. So, tendency of the study. I don't know know why you want to get all.
You get the exam questions tomorrow.
You have it from now? No. Half an hour next week, that's it. Doesn't take you that long. You don't need 3 hours to do that. What? No, because you're done. It's time for fundamentals.
So this is going to, this going to what's our final?
What?
Yeah. This.
Okay.
We having any opportunities for,
Yeah, that was out
That's
of
our
20.
midterm?
That was out of 20.
so we having any other thing now for break in between midterm and
No,
final?
this is it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm giving you a supplemental question. So let's say you got 65. You can try to do questions and get as close to 100 as you can. You see what I mean? So you can, so when you go in the finals, you have a cushion. You make that decision. If you get 75,
So it means you have to pass this test next week.
yeah, so it depends on where you fall. You could get 75, you could come and take the 2, and you get enough marks whereby you hit 100. No, I'm just saying.
We need to pass this class, like 70.
70.
I thought they say 60.
I don't know. Huh?
Why we should cover 6 this evening?
We did customer due diligence.
That's
What's
chapter
that?
7.
How much you said class participation was again?
Types of customers.
20%?
Who?
Types of customers.
Wait,
I
that's all.
can need that to any recession.
Ms. Archer, you said class
What happened?
participation forms a part of the grade. That's 20%?
You don't remember Juice for telling us?
No, I never told you that. Don't try it.
You didn't
How much
tell us
percent
class
of it?
On the first
participation
day,
forms
you
a
said
part of
that.
the,
Sometime
of it?
20%? No, never told you that.
I did in the class.
What?
The
Class
percentage.
participation. 15, right?
No.
How much percent is it?
None.
No, she said that
It's
last
10%.
class. You said that 10%.
It's in your contract. It's 10%. But don't rely on that.
10% is a lot.
Yeah, but don't rely on that.
Yes?
True.
Suppose I
No,
get a 60.
but don't rely on that.
I can need that.
But don't rely on that. I don't know what's wrong with
What
you.
does it say?
What's that?
Big?
Take it too big. So you know, the thing is that you all know what you give me, you know it ain't up to par, but you're still looking for the grade. Because when I read it, I said, what is she talking about? Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Not enough substance. Who got 20 on the research paper? Who got 20? Who got 19? Nobody. Who got 18? 17? 16? Yeah, a lot for that, don't count. No, because the whole point of giving a research question is you put your all into it. So that automatically you just get 20. That's the whole point of taking it on. So when you go to the exam, you know I have 20. But when you just rush it at the end of the last minute and throw it together, you get a 10 or 12, you already lost, you already dropped down too low. Say what?
I'm sure that's together. I'm see the same thing.
Exactly, but you gotta write it good. It's a giveaway. Say what?
That morning.
The final exam, I'll have a research.
Bummer.
It's looking for extra points. You can't get that.
We could do that.
Who's sucking the teeth? Why are you sucking the teeth?
I ain't really trying to feel it. This is a lot of money now.
I tell you that. $120. That's next
What happened?
A lot of money if you fail, you can do it again. Unless you were
There's no multiple choice on the final item.
I'm not Chinese.
No.
Question.
Why?
Question. How much I need to pass this class?
17.
I just read that.
And this the what is 70?
Yes.
How much money you got?
You don't got much left?
No multiple choice.
Final left. You have what? Where's final?
So no multiple choice, no research paper, no research paper.
No, that come in.
That'll be the last day class.
What?
Finally.
That's last day class.
April what? April what?
I don't know, y'all better don't ask for that because you ain't even make up the full
What?
class.
For what? For the final? Oh, there's no makeup. That's it.
April what? The middle of that.
Let me go get the date from the state. Let's get ready. Let's get ready to do chapter 6.
It'll be April 30th, correct?
Types of customers. Whatever.
But you can get the date April 30th.
I can get a date right now. Ready for chapter 6?
When you ready?
Yes.
We are? I hear y'all keep saying yeah.
I read them.
I mean that.
What?
Too much big words.
Because the night she said due diligence, I'm like, no.
Alright, this between Sunday and
So
Monday.
you know, yeah, because you see my Tuesday working.
What you ready?
That's a lot. Paragraph.
Yeah.
Especially in this class. Especially in this
As
class.
a bright side, it's 7 o'clock. I'm feeling that when she goes to She said everything with the bottom.
Cue cards and then read them.
And then put the date aside. Like when the case is solved.
I might do something more than that though.
Is it night? Night. Why? Well, Sunday.
You sure we don't know?
April 16th.
April
16th. Yes.
And after that, no more class.
No, that's the day of the exam.
No, that's close.
You're supposed to be where? Tampa?
Hold on, you say April 16th? That's a
The night is the
Saturday.
last day of class.
I can't take that, Miss Archer.
Why?
You said 16?
Oh shoot, it's March 16th. Sorry.
April 16th is Tuesday,
give us a
right?
date.
Hmm?
You did give us a date before. So I have this written here, so I guess this changed.
That's the last day of class.
So they in here no more.
No, it's here.
The last day of class is what, the 16th?
On the 9th. If you're ready, I'll give it to you on the 9th.
No, fine.
Right, give me that one.
You want it on the 9th?
Me.
Well, you just
Personally,
scaring me. I
personally.
don't know how you scary on bud.
Personally,
He wants it before Easter.
Yeah, that's like kind of.
So the 16th is the last day of class.
No, the last day of class is the 9th.
And then the exam just the 16th.
Following week. Huh? The last class is the 9th.
I'm ready for
That is
check it for
Holy
what.
Week, eh? Yeah, that's Holy Week. We have them all over. structure the same way you structure a contract case. Unless you use contract law. So the question when you came to Repayment is that it has to do with the rights and duties or a particular part of the rights and duties. These cases, when you're doing Repayment cases. So that case will have to do with the owner. Say that. That's what you're supposed to. I don't expect you to say that. What's the thing?
18?
Yeah, I don't know.
Which number is one now? That's ridiculous, Bob.
Okay, so let's talk about types of customers. So each bank has its own policies and procedures regarding requirements for opening a bank account. You agree?
Yeah.
And each bank has its own policies and procedures as what's required to open a bank account. So you never have an exam question as to what are the documents required to open an account.
Why?
Because it's standard. It's not an examinable question.
You know we get one night.
What is wrong with you?
Me neither. Me neither.
For examination purposes?
Miss Archer, you remember that time when you said that?
No.
You said, no, this is what you
What?
said. You said, you will give us little makeups to make up the grades if we're not there. So,
But I give it to you next week.
what if that one still isn't well?
Then you'll get another one.
Okay, just make
As long as the midterm, but I can't do it for the final.
No, I'm just wanting to make sure.
Right.
Okay.
So if you do it and you don't do well, the following Tuesday, if you know you didn't do well, come prepared.
No, it's over.
Okay, we'll be.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yes.
Even if we don't do well, can we still take that whole page? That next one this year.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure you're keeping the promise.
Sarge, I'm on this whole book.
What?
I'm on I can base on this whole book.
The final exam?
It's 6 to 10, I mean.
No.
Because
No.
this chapter 6 now, right? And they're looking at this, right?
Yeah, you have to read all of that.
Sarge,
But remember now, when you go to chapter 4, 5, and 4, what are they on?
Bank.
Bank. So it incorporates all of it.
Okay.
But there won't be a particular question on chapter 4. There won't be a particular question on chapter 5.
Yeah, they just
But those
include everything.
principles are involved in whatever you do in banking.
Okay.
No.
What? What happened?
I like that I'm saying anyway.
friend. She ain't fall slow.
No way.
I'll chop and do this time.
What?
Just wicked with me.
I am working with you. Come on. Okay, let's look at types of accounts. First is an individual account. Is there anything special about an individual account? Anything special about an individual account?
Yes, but it's different from a joint account.
Okay.
A third party should not be allowed. Oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
A third party should not be allowed to open this account for anyone else without his permission or consent.
Now what does it mean?
I mean, is that SNE can't come open my account at RBC without my consent.
How can she open an account for you with your consent?
Probably with a letter signed and dated.
Carry a document.
If they carry what?
Power of attorney?
Power of attorney.
Okay.
Okay? If it's not you, then that person must have a power of attorney. Hmm?
Joint accounts?
And then I have the section here on power of attorney.
Our journey lasts for how long?
It depends on how it's written. Yeah,
Depends on what it
depends on
says.
what it says. You have to read it.
You have to read it. And
All are not the same.
really good.
Yes.
You have to read it
You have to read
really
it,
good.
because a power of attorney can say you're only allowed to make deposits.
Mhm.
It could say you could make deposit, withdrawals, buy land, sell land, it's all different things. It could say you could do those things, but only for 6 months, only for 12 months, only for 3 months, or it could just be open. You have to read it.
Yeah, because some people is like.
Because
once
if
read
you
it,
allow that
read it,
person
read it.
to transact, that goes beyond the power, they will sue the bank.
You better read that.
You have to read it.
Those you have to read very well and make sure it's notarized properly.
Yeah, it's strictly legal.
But there's certain things you should do on your own.
Yeah. You should be able to.
You should be able to, yeah, a power of attorney. Unless it's one that's like 8 or 10 pages long, most of them are about 2 pages long. They tell you exactly what you can do. So I have the section here on power of attorney and agency. Remember I gave you all a handout
I do recall.
on the contract law on agency? So whenever you speak about agency, when you say someone is an agent of a company, that falls under contract law.
I know, look at that.
But she wasn't here.
So you're trying to say?
You copied this number?
I ain't copy that one.
I have another
So-
one before.
Pull out the agency principles under contract law. So that means that when a company hires another company to act on its behalf, they become an agent. Look at this. Wait, what's wrong with you?
It's a lot I gotta do. I gotta stop and then.
So where an agent operates a customer's account outside the scope of his authority for his own benefit, and the bank knows of the fraudulent act, and the bank may be liable for breach of contract to its customer. Okay? And so when you read your handout on agency under contract law, it tells you the different types of agents. Express, implied, it can be ratified by operation of law. That's a different way you can be appointed.
One more.
Then it comes the authority of the agent. That's when the agent acts on behalf of a company. He can have actual authority, which means he has a written document, or it could be ostensible authority. Then it can be usual authority. And then they speak about the relationship between the principal and his agent. That's contract law. Then it says that the bank may also be a constructive trustee for the funds received by the agent unlawfully. Do you know what that means?
They
Yeah, you
can,
see that the same hand.
they can,
Read
they
it from
can,
now.
they can,
At the bottom.
they can take control of the funds in the account, or they can hold the account so that the person who has power of attorney is not able to conduct any transactions in the account. basically.
Partly. When an agent acts outside of his authority, the bank then holds those funds, just like he said. But when the bank holds funds, then the bank becomes a trustee by operation of law. And if the bank actually disperses those funds without the proper authorization, then they can be sued.
Which is by the
So-
courts in that case, right?
What?
If they become,
No, the client will sue you.
no, you say without proper authorization. The proper
That's the
authorization.
agent.
So that's like in the case where if the bank knows that as the power of attorney,
Mm-hmm,
I use some drug money
mm-hmm,
and use that account,
mm-hmm.
kind of hold the money up, so to speak.
And you have an idea that something is suspicious.
Mhm.
You become a constructive trustee for those funds, but it's normally for legitimate funds. Because if it is done because of illegal means, then of course, it falls under the proceeds of crime.
Mhm. Okay.
And I want you to notice when you go through the types of customers, how the onus is on the bank and the bank's employees to know what is required under each type of customer that you have, each type of account that you open. So a power of attorney I went through with what is all the legal, is a legal document signed by one person, the principal, authorizing another person, the agent, to act on his benefit. The authority of the agent to act may be terminated if the power of attorney is revoked in the following instances. So, If you didn't read this, this is contract law. Remember what I said in the first class? Everything in banking is based on contract law. So this is if you had a business and she had a business, and she contracted him to act as her agent to carry on business with you. They would follow this. Under banking principles, if you are an agent and you present a power of attorney, I've set out in the notes how that power of attorney can be revoked, which is similar to what's in contract law. Notice by the principal and the agent that we are no longer in this agreement. Second, mental incapacity of the principal or the agent, or fulfillment or completion of the purpose for the agency. Because if the power of attorney is just for one particular task, once it's completed, it's done. Expiration of the power of attorney, that's the example we were giving him. If he says for 3 months, you have to check the date when it was signed. 3 months is up, it's done. You can't use it anymore. Death of the principal or the agent. This again, you have to know who is the agent and you have to know who's the principal. And that's why you always read the Thursday paper and you always look at the news on Thursday, because you need to know who died. Because you can be sued if you carried a transaction after the person is dead. Illegality or frustration of the agency. Remember we did this in contract law, and how a person can frustrate an actual contract. So here they're talking about frustration of the agency, which means that one of the party who's performing the task frustrates it, whereby it cannot be performed. Because maybe you have a contract where he's supposed to come and make deposit at a certain time in order for you to make your payments to a vendor. Instead of him making it on every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, he decided to come Thursday, Friday when he feel like. So he's frustrating the contract because you can't carry your business the way you want it to be done. Then illegality, same thing as we talk about illegal means. If you put funds through the account, you know they are illegal, then again, you're breaching the contract. Then insolvency of the principal. If the person who hired you as an agent is insolvent, then the agreement is revoked. An individual account holder's account is terminated upon notice by death, by the bank of his death. Mental incapacity, or upon unreasonable notice by the bank to terminate the banker-customer contract under certain specified conditions. So when you have an individual account, how can the bank terminate that relationship?
You have to die.
Or
You have to go crazy.
You have to be in breach of contract.
Mental incapacity.
Or you do some
something
criminal
that
act.
is specific in their policy or their guidelines that are
reasonable notice.
Reasonable
Next was reasonable notice.
Or if you found found doing any criminal act.
Yes.
So it's a criminal act. You can't just terminate the relationship immediately. You
Yes.
can still give notice.
It depends on the amount of what they do. The type
Okay.
type of client it
Depends
is.
on the
So
amount.
if 10 million on my account.
Because
right
a
now,
lot, if you have 10 million in your account, what you gonna do with it? Issue them a check?
Managers check.
And you're saying it's illegal? You can't move it.
You have
Okay, so
You have to wait till the FIU says it can be moved. So that stays right there. Now after the FIU say, I found nothing, then you have to tell them, I'm gonna close your account immediately. But you can't
But
just
if
write a
you find
check.
nothing, what you closing it for?
Some people do, they don't want the risk anymore.
yeah, it's
Because the
also-
suspicion is always there.
But you can still write a
Now,
letter
before you
closing
issue
it.
that check, they need to find out that another bank will accept that. Because otherwise they walk around all day with a check in their wallet for $10 million. And in 6 months it's still dated. And if they're from foreign banks, after they get still dated, they tell you, we're not even issuing you a new one no more. So you have a lot of people walking around with checks in their wallet, trying to find a bank to deposit it. So under the law of agency, an agent who exceeds his authority is personally liable to a third party. So you're an agent, you act on behalf of a company and you exceed your authority, then you are personally liable, not the company that you work for. And that's why it's always important that you read the power of attorney. This is a good question, eh? Not however, the bank may be liable to the principal if proper inquiries were not made by the bank staff to ascertain the agent's authority. So when you, as an employee of the bank, don't read the power of attorney, and you allow the agent to exceed his authority, then the bank will be sued. When an agent creates an overdraft without authority, he is personally liable to repay the debt to the bank and not the principal whose account the unauthorized overdraft was made. Makes sense, right? So you know you have an agency question. You don't have to worry about that. Joint accounts. 2 or more persons. It must be clear whether both or either signatures is acceptable for withdrawals. Now this is where the funny thing comes in. Joint accounts.
You gotta really determine if it's an oral or on account.
Yes.
Other speak.
And it's a big difference.
There's a big difference. This is always on the final exam. So letting you know now. So don't ask me what on the exam. What's wrong with you?
I didn't even say that now.
You suck your teeth. We heard you.
It's so loud.
Yes. What's the difference? If I say, hold on, if I say John and Mary.
They
They
both
both have to
present.
sign.
And if I say John,
Either.
Either or. I mean, they can sign together or separate.
or separately. And do you know there's still bank employees who don't know the difference?
Or no.
That's crazy.
And they will allow John to come and draw the funds off?
Or no. I know it's crazy.
Yes, it happens. It happens.
The furthest will get away from me.
And means you need both. And or can be both, or could just be either one.
I was looking at a form actually today at work, and they had that, they made a distinction, it was a form where they just used to do this one and,
Mhm.
or this and or. And then all of a sudden they just reprinted them, they just had the big explanation, and I was like, what, really? You doing this?
So let's go now.
It's a big difference.
So, what if Mary owes money? Can I take the funds off that account?
Yes.
Anything with attached to Mary.
Yep.
Or
Anything,
if it's an all account, yes.
On the
If
account.
it's an aunt,
If I get that,
No.
yes, please.
Why not?
That gone.
What is the right answer, so? Because
No.
I knew you were trying to
You
guess
can't
with
take it
this.
off an on account.
Yes, you can. Once that associated with on, that's gone.
if that
Especially
account,
if that's a loan.
if that account overdrawn, that
I
comes
tell
up
you
that.
that, I know
Because
because
it's
that
not a
happens.
partnership
That
account,
ain't
I
supposed to
mean.
happen.
Oh, why not?
The loan is Mary, you want a loan? How you want to touch John and Mary money?
Because that's part of Mary.
George,
That's
Read
part
this.
of
George
Mary.
shouldn't open account with Mary.
Read it.
She should
Read
overdraw.
it.
Joint liability gives the bank.
Read this.
You can't
Read it
do
out.
that.
Joint liability gives the bank one right of action as creditor for the recovery of any debt owed to it against either one party to the account, any number of parties to the account together, or all of them at once. Joint liability prevents the enforcement of a judgment for debt against the remaining joint account holders. It is obtained against one joint account holder and remains unsatisfied. Likewise, joint liability allows the estate of the deceased joint account holder to be freed from the payment of any debt outstanding at the time of the deceased joint account holder's death.
Can we get an interpreter, please?
Now, see, the difference comes now,
I
go
get
back
it.
to contract law. When you read
Yeah,
the
contract.
contract, the contract, whether or not you can take it from here or here, is based on those fine print.
Commonwealth Bank, take
You
that.
see? And that's why you have to read it.
Commonwealth Bank.
Common Bank
take
takes
that.
it where it's on, either or, plus, minus.
Anything, anything is gone.
But that's in the account opening
It's
documentation.
gone.
Yeah.
That's probably in that section.
Yeah, each bank one is different, that's why you have to read it.
If it's an all account,
say that.
sure. But on,
Because what the system does, the system just goes through and look for Mary Smith. All through. And wherever it finds it. So let's say she had an account here with Sue
I know what we
and Mary.
do, put it on hold.
You see what I mean?
Put it
It'll go here, and it'll take money from here, take money from here. So everything comes to the fine print.
Suppose John come in and not
We
married.
won't automatically take it. We put it on hold
Now suppose you get something.
to get their attention.
Let's say me on an account, and you put her money on hold, and I owe you.
Yeah, and John called me, I'll just say we're trying to reach Mary.
So you can do my money and then
It says on hold.
That's what we do.
It's in your
It
best
says
interest to
on
give
hold.
us, give us Mary.
Just take it. Don't put my money on hold. Though. Take it. Take it.
That's why a lot of people don't do joint
Because the fact
accounts,
that-
especially when you don't know the credit history of the person who you doing the accounts
We're
with.
trying to reach Mary, remains on hold.
Give us Mary.
The fact that-
Give us Mary, get your money.
Yeah. So a joint account mandate may terminate or be cancelled under the following circumstances. Now this is banking law. Again, you have to read the fine print. When the bank receives notice of a dispute between the parties. And a lot of people don't do that. They come to you after the husband or wife have taken off all the money.
Yeah, that's true.
When they should have gone to the bank and say, we have a dispute, or we're in counseling. That's when the bank will monitor your account. If you don't do that, many instances, you come to the bank,
Clean.
the wife done gone with the money.
That's how they go.
Or the husband has gone with the money.
Hold on.
Yes, that happens. Yeah, because if it is like, but if it's like this, they have that right to take the money. You see what I mean? If it's like this, they have the right to take the money, they're gonna take it.
You what?
We're open at all accounts.
Oh.
No, that have to be A&D. Stop playing. What?
When all parties give their written instructions to terminate or cancel the joint account, or when the bank has notice of death, bankruptcy, or mental incapacity of one of the parties to the joint account. And behemoths don't like to do that when someone is mentally incapacitated. They don't tell the bank.
No, they don't. They just come in.
They just come in and go like normal.
He ain't no
Would you see what I'm saying?
Ain't
No,
that-
let's just say he has
That was time to
automatically,
update.
let's say automatically, $2,000 a month comes into the account for him, from wherever. Right? And then he gets mentally incapacitated. You ain't going to tell them? I want a 2,000 just to keep coming in. Coming in. But you're supposed to cancel it.
It's supposed to cancel.
Yeah, but the bank has to be aware.
Man, you get these customers who
And now
they can
with
operate
automation,
as the power.
he doesn't even have to come into the bank.
The bank or the person sending the money?
No, the person sending the money automatically sends it.
Jane knows.
So it's like someone with a pension.
It could be a
You wouldn't know.
NIB. We
Go
would
ahead and
know.
just ask for your money back now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they know for it, because you have to go for verification.
Yeah.
They ask for their
Then
money
they will
back,
know.
and they give you a deadline.
Yeah.
You have
If
to bring
they
the money back.
find out that you
Right.
are
Blah, blah, blah,
whatever it
and the
is,
Mhm.
like you say you were disabled and you're not disabled, you have to pay back.
That's understandable.
No, even with that,
I
if
know
they
some people
send
who already
money
doing that now
to,
anyway.
and the person come to collect the death benefit or whatever, and if they find out they sent money prior to them being dead,
So how much are you allowed if someone
they'll
dies?
ask you, they'll take
Ah.
they'll ask you to bring the money
How
back.
much?
before
What?
you give it a check.
How much are you allowed to take
We
over
in
a
the
person's
Bahamas,
account if
you
they
know.
die?
Don't be
Or
calling
if you
for
take over
like
that
that.
person's
What is
account,
that,
they die.
sorry?
How much are you allowed to take?
How much?
Withdraw.
If that's your spouse,
That was a question I got
Doesn't matter.
yesterday.
if that's your spouse, you can take that off.
I think you can
No,
take all that
you
once you
can't
bring that
take
You
all
together.
can't
No.
take all, it's a certain
It's an
amount.
amount.
This
Funeral
woman come,
expenses.
this
And it's a
woman came
law.
she took off.
It's an
Yeah,
amount.
everything
I
was
can't
on.
remember the amount.
I thought if you bring your marriage certificate and the death certificate, you can get it.
all.
No, you
no,
gotta
it's
get
a
all.
certain
Make it-
amount.
make it
Why
pay
can't you
with
get
it.
all?
You make it pay for
No,
that.
not a count.
No.
You just
Why?
get- you just
If
get
that's my
enough
wife,
for-
why she can't get all?
You just
No,
get
it does
enough
not
for
work that
funeral
way.
expenses.
Yeah.
So suppose she
And
don't
there's
pay
a
that.
cap on it, so I
Two
can't
things.
remember. I can't
Okay, so
remember.
listen.
So I
They had
can't
to
remember.
bring, they had to bring an invoice.
I don't understand.
It's
that.
against the
Listen,
law.
listen,
For her to get all?
listen.
Get everything in there?
Listen.
Linda.
Why you going all over the place? Alright, let me
I
let
know
you
which
hold a
one to
hand. Alright, which one could die? Most likely is him.
The man usually dies.
Whoa.
Most likely it's
Dog. They throw us in the grave.
And the women usually have will for true.
Say less.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if he have a will, he's gonna say who his money needs to go to, who he wants to do it,
Yep.
who's his executor. No will,
No.
no.
probate.
Both have to be probated.
3+ years.
Both have to go to court. So when the person dies, They go to the bank.
So if you got a bill on the card, you can dare waiting for the money.
I know it's a cap, I just couldn't.
So I mean, so that's what,
it?
1,500 at one, just 1,500
But
one time and that's it?
But don't some banks make a discretion if you have the bill from the funeral?
It depends.
What my wife can do 1,500?
It depends.
But you have to show proof though.
Yeah, the very.
I can give you,
Put on
okay,
file.
hold on. Let's just say here, there's a bill,
Uh-huh.
right? And in the bill, it says that Mary is the sole beneficiary. Right? And then the account has this. They can use their discretion and give you the amount for the funeral. But if this says here, it's 100,000 on this account, and I give in Mary 5, I give in Sue 3, no.
No.
Because don't forget now,
No bills enough to be carried out, right?
no, probate first.
You gotta
Which
probate.
means that all of this person's expenses,
Have to be settled first.
funeral, have to be settled before any of this money is paid.
That's the purpose of the probate.
There's papers on probate.
Yep.
All expenses have to be paid before this is
And that's
dispersed.
3 years is the time to make sure everything paid off then.
What 3 years?
And that's why.
How long probate is?
And that's
It
why
depends
banks
on the
still go get
assets.
Judge against you,
Oh.
because she'll get their money in debt.
And sometimes you get nothing,
Yeah.
because there's a priority for disposal. Now, if they die without a will,
I have to send just to pay off everything.
they're not giving you anything. Why? Because the court, according to the law, decides who gets. So, you left a wife, no children, she gets all. You left a wife and 1 child, it's 50-50. And it keeps going.
So everything will be even for how amount of children you have.
So if it's the wife and 3 kids.
If the wife and 3 children, she's 50 for her, and that 50 is divided by the 3.
Oh, so the wife
they
will
don't-
automatically get half.
Yes.
They don't do that no more, right? Like
What?
like the oldest son.
No.
like-
No.
yeah, okay.
Sorry.
So say that again, so what happens, the wife gets the half and then what do you do the rest?
The other half is split between the children, and this is all children. Legitimate, illegitimate, wherever children are, they all
But
will
only
split
if
this.
it's proven that that's the child, right?
In most instances, they can prove it. Because you can go to the court and say he came every Sunday and he brought money.
You leave it.
Sounds right.
That's why I get
I
mine.
have to start saving now. Snap.
Because after the siblings been faithful, they wanted.
Hmm? So normally when a person in a joint account and one dies, that's why you close the account. So the account is not overdrawn, because then you have to see which monies belong to whom. And a lot of dispute come in this area when an elderly person puts someone else on the account.
Yeah, I also do that.
They was put their son on
The other
the
person feels they're not liable, but it's an all account, so even though she died, they don't just.
I must find that case for you. I have to
Because
find
I
that
tried to
case.
explain.
Because under common law, if an elderly person puts another person on their account, you ask them at the very beginning, what's the purpose of putting on that person?
Just in case they die.
No, that's a different.
But what if
No,
it's open?
this
And then
and
it-
they'll say, I put her on so she can pay my bills. When a person dies, you're not entitled to that money. Yeah, no loans or pay my NIB, buy my groceries. That doesn't mean when I die,
You
She
take
get
it.
you,
You're
no.
not a beneficiary.
That's why you have to ask them. What's the purpose for putting this person on the account? If the person says, I'm putting him on my account because he is my sole beneficiary, or I'm leaving all of this money to him and I die anyhow, you know automatically when he dies that the money is his.
You get the people who swing them more people, man.
Yeah.
And tell them
And you
have
see them-
more people come inside
And
the
have them
bank
drawn
and
out all
just-
their money.
Just sitting there writing on and
Because they don't know.
okay, but let me add this person onto my account.
No, I'm looking stuff like that. We call the older woman or man in the office
By
by
themselves.
themselves.
We do that, and that's how we realized the woman, this Jamaican lady who's helping her. She's helping her put on her
That's why I
account.
caretaker.
And when you pull her on the side, and she asked her, we realized that every couple of minutes she asking the same question. Someone couldn't remember that.
Yeah.
So she ever
no
sitting there?
changes should be made to our account.
Right, so she ever sitting there and I see her walk, I notice she keep walking.
But you
through
notice
every step.
they bring them into the bank. They bring them into the bank. Yeah, because they want that money.
So you can't add on to accounts no more anyway, so.
No? That's everybody,
I think so.
I don't know.
According to central bank, I think that's switch. You can't add on the account, you could open up a whole new account. And
Oh,
put
but
two
there's no
people in
adding
it.
on.
There's no more adding on. Back in the day, you could have. I think that switched a couple of years now. You weren't supposed to add to accounts no more. You was to open a whole new account.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Partnership accounts.
Somebody could go
Bring
to
up
jail.
an X first, so you see
What's
that
that?
question that you can't add on.
Yeah,
I think that's,
someone,
I
that
think
means
that, I think that
someone,
was changed.
that means someone needs to go to jail then.
People gotta go to
Someone had to go to jail.
Whoa.
Someone.
Oh, you just saying.
Who, you?
No, he's not calling no names.
Right.
That's the partnership.
I don't think you could add on.
Every partner is considered an agent of the partnership and has the authority to bind all partners. See this word agency keep coming up when you talk about accounts? A partnership is similar to a sole proprietorship in that the legal and financial liabilities of the partnership extend beyond the partnership to the individual partners and their personal assets. So third parties such as banks who transact or do business with a partner will not be prevented from legally binding the partners once the partner's action is done in the partnership name and within his actual, apparent, or implied authority, notwithstanding any limitations on their authority.
But I have a question, something.
What?
No, never mind. It was something.
It was? Mhm. And I just went through the different parts about how a partnership account may be opened. And normally when a partnership, just like a joint account, when one dies, the account should stop.
But I'd get all my money off that though.
It depends. Does you have debts? And then there are things coming in.
So if me and her on our account together, and I die tomorrow,
Done and done.
The account stop.
she can't get another.
Why would she be getting something?
Account.
Yeah, what happened?
Shouldn't she get the rest of the money?
It depends.
It depends. What?
Like if you have any bills or anything.
Yeah, like,
So after whatever bills it is, pay off or probate.
yeah, then
She
she
should
get it, yeah.
Okay.
So a company is
What if
a,
that's practiced?
what?
What you just said?
Again, it's the fine print.
Okay.
A company is a legal entity, has its own identity, liability, and obligations. Companies.
Oh, that's 53.
You gotta read these, you know.
Yes. A company is established in the Bahamas under the Companies Act and under the IBC Act. So, what is required for a company to open an account?
There shall be some corporate documents.
The memorandum of association, articles of association.
Certificate of good standing.
So, if I have an individual, this is a human,
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
a company, which is also an entity. So we have here your passport,
NIV,
NID card, or whatever other verification you have.
proof of address,
Right. For company, what's required?
articles of association,
Okay, memo and arts. Uh-huh,
certificate of incorporation,
uh-huh.
Certificate of good standing.
Certificate of good standing.
Business license.
What's certificate of incumbency? What's that for?
Hold on, tell us what you write now.
everything.
It's in the book?
Okay, this one goes to be-
That's on page 53 and 54.
Imprint of the company seal.
Oh, what?
Imprint of the
Company seal.
What that is?
That's around, not all companies have seals.
Yeah,
But it
Not all.
So where that'll be, I mean like how you give that to them on what?
A piece of paper.
And just stamp it. Okay.
Okay? You would know if this is required. How?
If you have a company seal.
Uh-huh. How would you know that
If
a
you
company
have
requires a seal for certain documents in here? That tells you if that's required. Now, someone mentioned certificate of incumbency. What's the difference between certificate of incumbency and certificate of good standing?
I don't even see that inside there.
Yeah, and business license.
It was said, but it's right.
I don't see it now.
Yeah,
What?
I said it, but I was trying to figure out, I can't remember the difference, but I know that's a thing too.
One is law, one is practice. If you're going to open an account today, you need a business license because you have to be able to provide your TIN. So, certificate of good standing comes from the Registrar General. That says that you paid all of your statutory fees. Certificate of incumbency comes from the corporate secretary
That's
of the
law.
firm.
That's the one that's law.
What? This?
Compensate.
This is a corporate secretarial function. This is by law.
Which one is it by law? What does it say?
Certificate of good standing. When you go to the Registrar General and you ask them to prepare a certificate of good standing, saying that you paid all of your fees and you've met all the statutory requirements.
With CS me on the side of incumbency again.
Corporate secretary. The secretary of the company prepares this document.
That's when you go to companies. The registrar.
That's this one here.
I live inside there.
That's this one here, certificate of good standing. The agent can prepare it here, if it's managed. What's the purpose of this register of officers and register of directors and register of members / shareholders? It shows what? Who the owners are,
They're signing.
who's managing, and who's running it, the officers.
That inside the book.
Yeah, see it right there. Register of shareholders, register of officers and directors, number 4. They're all there.
Not the incumbency.
No.
Oh. They're reading this.
You reading it and not seeing it?
The practice.
Where it is. Incumbency in here, and it's in court. No, incumbency.
Incumbency is in that.
No. But normally a company, they use either or. Because this one only says that you've paid all your statutory fees. This one states the statutory fees, who's the registered agent of the company, what's the authorized capital of the company. So this one gives a little bit more detail.
When you say authorized capital, what does that mean?
The capital will start the bank. When you incorporate a company, it needs a capital.
I didn't know it.
That goes on the certificate of incumbency.
Is your VAT information necessary too? In this case, is VAT information necessary?
When I say the business license, all that's included in it. It's a one-stop shop. Now, this is one of the issues with the banks are having for unincorporated clubs and societies. First, they have no separate legal existence from its members. And the business is normally conducted by elected or appointed committee or executive officers in agreement with the bylaws. So what does the government know with these unincorporated entities now? All these people who say they have these clubs, if you want to open an account, what's required?
The VAT number?
They have to be registered. There you go.
Register to what?
With the Registrar General. That's a new requirement. They have to be registered.
Register with what?
Registrar General.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mr. What you mean? Doesn't it? So every business is going to have to be registered?
Every business should be registered. But these are unincorporated, these are like clubs.
Soccer club.
All those things, they should be registered. You didn't know that, eh?
No, I
No, they have to be registered. And they need something else along with that. What's that? Just like a company, no, not memorandum, they need what?
Constitution?
No, they call them bylaws. This sets out the rules. So a lot of companies or association, the clubs that open accounts way back, 2 or 3 people came in, they established account, they said name so and so association, there are no bylaws. So when a person dies, then the next one dies, the third one dies, then what happens? There are no rules as to who should take over. So you have funds sitting up in the account and no one could draw it off because they don't have any bylaws.
I think those ones who has come like 3 months later. We're changing this person, moving this person, this is the secretary, this is the secretary. Would you just say? Yeah, well, the meeting was done and the minutes read, this person moved, everything changed, bylaws and signing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
just close that conference.
Just say close it.
I was like, hey.
Stressful. Just close it.
Close it?
Just close it.
Okay, bank statements. A bank has a duty to maintain an accurate record of a customer's transactions. You agree?
Yes.
Now it says in law, the customer has no obligation under common law to check the accuracy of their statements. But as you know, banks over time have put in the fine print that if you do not raise a question within, some say 30, some say 45, then you lose your money.
Yeah. It was 30, now it's 45.
It was 30, now it's 45? Yeah, because it has to be reasonable. If a customer's account is overcredited, the excess credit must be refunded by the customer immediately, as the customer is deemed a constructive trustee. What happened? Why are you laughing?
Because we got a co-worker, former co-worker.
Mm-hmm. What happened? They got excess funds? And then what happened? They spent it? And went to jail, right?
Yeah,
They paid it back?
Old man, she old. She have to pay it back.
Yeah, they paid it back.
She was just sitting there.
What?
No, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault.
She gave it to the
They credited her.
But she didn't know it was there.
No, she knew, but she thought it was hers.
Okay, so hold on now. You hear what you say? No, that is critical. No, that is critical. Because I want you to know, hold on, critical. Because I'm going to read my next paragraph.
It could have been a gift.
A customer may challenge a claim for refund of excess credit to their account by proving that the following conditions existed.
What?
And there are 3 conditions. 1, the bank misrepresented the state of the account to the customer.
That was one.
Okay, that was 1, because the bank put the money there.
Right.
As a misrepresentation.
Yes.
I know I only supposed to have $20, but I'm looking at it, I had 25,000. That's a misrepresentation.
Be considered misrepresentation.
Okay, 2, yes. Misrepresentation was sufficient to mislead the customer.
That I got money.
And then 3rd, as a result of the misrepresentation, the customer has changed his circumstances to the extent that any repayment of the excess credit would be unfair or detrimental to the customer. So in essence, this means that, let's say she was about to retire, right?
Lifestyle.
And she's expecting that she's getting some money.
And that's exactly
And she
what happened.
received that money. You don't pay back a dime.
That's
So
exactly
she
what
should have
happened.
gone to a lawyer. You don't pay back nothing.
Well, she got double, and with social we have shares and pension and all
Yeah,
that
but
thing.
I'm
She
expecting
thought all
this
that
money.
was hers.
She going to a lawyer?
So
She should have gone to a lawyer.
But yeah, that's
I
mine.
hope she did.
That's
I
mine.
No, but it says right here.
But trust me,
She
they
didn't know her rights.
She didn't know her rights.
No, she retired.
She didn't know her rights. Because if you are, it's just like say you right now in your account, right? You have $500. And I call you and I say, anytime between now and next week, I'm going to send you $2,000 to do whatever you want, right? Tomorrow you go, you see $2,000. You spend it. Your lawyer will say to them, you were expecting $2,000 from your aunt or your sister. Here's a copy to communication. Your circumstances have changed. You took the $2,000, you spent it on whatever it is you're supposed to spend it on. It's gone. What's that?
And thank you.
You see? So if an account is wrongly debited, the amount debited must be returned to the customer's account immediately. Now, the banks put in all the little fine print, but after the investigations and this 24 hours, this and all that, it don't work that way.
Oh, but in 24 hours, we'll turn into 72.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But it's supposed to be immediately. As the bank has no mandate to debit the customer's account in this instance. Because you don't have the authority to do so. You made a mistake. So you're supposed to do it immediately. Where the bank has incorrectly debited an account and returns a customer's check as unpaid due to insufficient funds, the bank is liable for wrongful dishonor of a check and may also be liable for breach of contract and defamation of character. That's why you see them lawyers, when they come to the bank, they always start and talk about they could sue.
So the customer could sue if the bank does that.
Especially if the person who you had given the check to start running on and say, you say you had money, you don't have any money, do it in front of a bunch of other people.
That's why it's
Defamation,
of character.
yes. And they can sue you.
You make me look broke.
Exactly, and I'm not broke because you didn't do what you're supposed to do.
That's why I wouldn't be whispering.
Yes. So in the event that the bank wrongly debits an account and subsequently returns a check unpaid, it is advised to take the following steps. Refund the incorrect debit. If instructed by the customer, contact the payee and make payment. Apologize for the wrongful dishonor and explain that it was due to the bank's error and not the customer's error. You see who's doing this? The bank. Not me going back to the people, it's the bank. And a letter of apology must be sent to the customer explaining the bank's error and the remedial actions. Because it goes right back to chapter 4. What are the duties of a bank? Banker's opinion and credit references. A bank may receive inquiries from another financial institution to confirm or provide information on the credit worthiness of a customer. And in order to provide such reference, the bank must obtain the express consent of the customer. Now you know all of this will change when we start the credit bureau. Because automatically this call, get your name and the reference will come up.
Oh, what do you think about that?
What?
The credit bureau.
It's required. You've had almost 7 years to get your life in order.
Oh, it ain't me now.
I'm not saying payments in general. It's 7 years.
A lot of them, they got trouble, yeah.
Yeah.
They got trouble.
Notice that the bank must be mindful of its duty of confidentiality and any relevant exceptions to that duty that allows it to answer third-party inquiries and provide bankers' opinions and credit references on behalf of its customers. It must take into account two possible liabilities in providing bankers' opinions. Liability to the customer for breach of contract if it provides a banker's opinion without express consent of the customer or provides customer information beyond the scope of the inquiry. That's why sometimes when you see a client comes in for a reference, most banks have a template. When you start to go outside that template, they don't like to write it anymore because they have to look at the implication. What is the liability? If, depends on how it's worded, they can be sued.
The customer say, oh, I want you to change this line.
Yeah, want to change this line of word and they mean something different.
No, ma'am.
Okay? Liable if the banker's opinion is considered defamatory. And then liability to the inquirer for negligence or negligent misstatement without a suitable disclaimer within the banker's opinion to limit liability. So now you see how chapter 4 and chapter 5 all weave into chapter 6. So it's no longer disjointed, it's all one.
I like to have a 6 better than all them other chapters. Put my findings on the chapter.
So if you get a question on chapter 6, notice how, if you were to answer one on chapter 6, right? Notice how we just finished talking. If you answer a question that has to do with someone with a joint account, partnership account, club account, association account, what do you think you have to talk about?
Any one of these cases.
No, what you gonna talk about?
Let me take my two.
If we have an issue with someone with a joint account or a partnership account or an individual account, you're gonna talk about what issues. You're gonna talk about the duties of a bank,
And the rights of a person.
the rights of the bank,
And the same with the customer.
and the same thing with the customer. Now you see why I tell you have to learn chapter 4? Depends on what it is, you must know the duty of confidentiality, and you must know the 4 exceptions to see where they fall under each one of those.
don't buck a customer like me, you know the stuff.
Do you see what I mean? And we only talking about a question that has to do with just a type of account, something that happened. Now you said it all comes together. So I could give you a scenario where someone's account was overcredited and they use it. How would you answer that? Yes? No, not you. Nothing's going to your account. Focus on the question. An account overcredited. How would you answer that?
I would tell you that.
Situation of a, I don't know, I insist, you know.
Come on, you do what you gotta do, brother.
An account is overcredited. How would you answer that question?
Was it overcredited by the fault of the bank?
That ain't the issue first.
It is the fault of the bank that it's overcredited, and you gave.
Only way it could be overcredited is by the bank.
Yeah, you, what is
You
it?
posted it wrong.
You give the customer,
Too much money.
no, the word that you use, man. Something you do.
Misrepresentation.
Yes, misrepresentation.
Yeah. So the first thing you state is, what is the law?
What the law is there.
Then you would say the 3 conditions. And then you would apply it to the scenario. Whether, based on the scenario I gave you, these conditions apply and that the person should keep the money. Or the person should repay the money.
That's like 3 what?
The 3 conditions.
I don't see no O in that.
See the O right there?
Show me the voice, though.
Right there. Oh.
When you say law that applies.
Oh. What's the law that applies to overcrediting? Go back to your notes.
Customer must be made it before. Customer must be made it because he.
There you go, yes.
It's just reading it.
You just finished reading it?
Yes. Run off the page.
Or is
It didn't run off.
Must be made the money back. If you give them too much money, they have to put it back.
Oh no, I have to put that money back.
And if they know it's a right for the bank to search their account and take it back, right?
What?
If you overcredit my account, what you mean? I have to give that.
No, that's when you debit.
Oh.
If customer is overcredited, the excess credit must be refunded by the customer immediately.
Unless
And that's what.
you meet these 3.
The customer may challenge, okay, if the bank misrep, okay.
Yes.
Got you.
You got it?
As far as I'm concerned, I go on.
See, you know what it is? It's be the wording, it's be the wording, it's be
The wording?
It's something about, it's about the process, remembering the process.
You have to remember the
Because
process.
even when you understand, even when you have the information, it's like,
Don't forget, I tell you, a scenario question is just like a person in front of you, ranting and carrying on. So let's take the exam question on bailment. Let's just say they came for their jewelry, someone else saying it's their jewelry. So they run carrying, it's mine, I need to see this and this and this. In your mind as a banker, your mind go, what's the right of the customer? And what's the duty of the bank in this situation? This situation with safety deposit box talks about bailment. So in your mind, you automatically know the rights and the duty. That's how you think when you're a banker. I don't care when you come yesterday, you fall down on studying my problem. My problem is, what's the banking issue? What's my right? And what's the duty? Because that's the core essence of banking. The rights and the duties on either side. And then in between there, you have all the other factors that come into play. Got it? So once you know the rights and the duties on both sides, you can answer any banking law question. Even if you don't know the case law for when an account is overcredited. The point that you know the principle. This is the bank's right. This is the customer's right. This is the bank duty. This is the customer duty. In this instance, the law states that if it is overcredited, you have to repay it right away, except for. But by you just saying right from the very beginning, what is the duty of the bank? What's the duty of the customer? you've already gotten a quarter of the points for the question. Because it tells me that you understand. Yeah, because then you have to apply it. So say it was worth 10 points. You start off by telling me, based on this scenario, the bank had the right to do this. This was the duty of the customer. You see what I mean? So you already gotten 3 points. That's how you answer a question. And as you do each chapter, that's how you need to think about it. What is the issue? Not what everybody else is saying, what is the issue? So that's why we start off with contract law cases. I tell you, call me if you want to buy this car. But you decide you go right instead. You see what I'm saying? Everything is based on what's the issue. What's the issue? You used the wrong mode of communication. What's the issue that the offer had lapsed? You see what I'm saying? You must know what the issue is. So there's no long answers for these questions. They're very short. If you know what the answer is. Why you laugh?
If you don't know, put some little keywords, stretch that a little.
No, don't try it.
Get up here.
Don't try it.
I'm trying to stretch the question.
Why are you trying to stretch a question? So next week we talk about customer due diligence, which is very short. So read 7 and start to read 8. That's all it's hard about. And for checks, which is 8, you need to bring the Bill of Exchange Act. The Bill of Exchange Act. It's an act. Act. Go on the laws of the Bahamas and go on the B and you see bills of exchange. Plenty pages. So you need to start to read it. The bills of exchange act. Yeah.
Along with studying the next class, for example.
You studied before. You only doing a refresher.
What we taking on this? Go on.
Laws of the Bahamas.
Hey, once you type that in on Google, I'm gonna.
Laws of the Bahamas. Okay? And depends on how smart and you're rolling, you may have extra time to study. But I don't think so.
I agree.
The shit is real.
You said we have a case exam, so the thing next week is.
One banking,
and
one contract.
Thank you.
30 minutes.
We need that 30, we need that 30
Not 1
minutes.
hour. No,
We
I
need
have
that-
things to do.
We need that 30 minutes to decide for the.
No, no, no. 30 minutes. Focus. Bye. Good night. I don't know why you're making noise. Huh? It is not rough.
Very simple. I don't know.
I tried to figure out if I answer question 1.